Okay, guys, so AMA, rapid question, rapid answer. These AMAs have sometimes ran longer than they probably need to. Every answer I could probably go 10 minutes on, but I'm going to try to really answer these succinctly, quickly, and just really just drive through them because I think we could get more AMAs done regularly if I could just get through these really quickly and not belabor points and things like that. So on the screen, not going to screenshot anything. You're literally just going to see me scrolling through the channel, answering questions. We're going to go from there. First, just real quick. So we did relaunch yesterday, as you know, within 1 week. Full relaunch. New token, changed emissions, the whole shooting match. Next, what's going to come is now that we've relaunched, that was the primary goal. By the way, XETA Capital Fund still profitable, financial services still profitable, completely unaffected. Now, let us stabilize a little bit and let us start directing our attention towards the liquidity pools, the cheap tokens that were bought. Let us start to address those on a case-by-case basis. I would ask, please do not open tickets. Please do not DM the team. Please do not, I mean, you can continue asking in the Discord, but the answer is going to always be the same, case-by-case basis. When we start addressing that, I promise you will know. There will be sirens, alarm bell. You'll know. You'll know when we start addressing it. We'll have a system for you to put in your request. But I'm just, for the time being, to not bog the team down with the same question, please let us stabilize for a little bit, and then we'll start addressing that. But rapid fire, here we go. Gravy train, is there an updated roadmap? There is not an updated roadmap at the moment, but remember, we're a little setback now, so just kind of keep that in mind. But everything on the roadmap is still in... we're still planning to achieve. We've got things that are not even on the roadmap that are, being worked on at the moment. Now that we're beyond the whole relaunch thing, is the price of XETA still be defended at 100? That's the plan. For the time being, could you please remind me whether the HFT is daily or monthly compounding? It is daily because in most cases it's daily, right? Could be every other day because it depends on positions opening, positions closing, right? Sometimes positions can open and close in the same day. Sometimes it's going to take a day. So every time that happens and there's a profit realized, it gets compounded. Okay? That could be daily. It could be every other day. But yeah, it's daily. And then obviously if you just don't withdraw, it'll just keep compounding monthly and so on. Richie Beast says, is there a emissions runway that is available or the team has? How long can XETA continue to pay at 1% per day with the estimated growth of new nodes and keep the price of 100? Okay, all right. It's not a very simple question to answer. And the reason is because in projects, there's no utility. So we run this math on you pay out 1%, people sell. Well, if people use the utility and they don't sell, that drastically changes that number, right? The mathematics of we can continue paying this out until this day. If you're actually using the utility, which remember, XETA Capital was designed in mind to provide something different, new, innovative, stuff that's out of people's reach normally to the blockchain, to the DeFi world, not just to be a token selling project. Okay? Otherwise, if it was just to be selling tokens, there'd be no utility. We would just be like any other project with nothing else to do. Okay? So when you have a decentralized world, remember that there's pros and cons to decentralization, meaning that the vast majority of the power is in the community's hands. In other words, it's just like in the real world, fiat world, I'll say, if every single person goes to their bank and tries to withdraw their money all at one time, there's going to be a problem. Like the banks can't control that. It's just an event that ideally you try to avoid, but if it happens, they can't control it. Right? Just like if every single person wants to go and sell right now, I mean, there's only so many profits that exist. There's only so much profits that exist in the ecosystem. And the primary goal is to provide utility. Hence the announcement today. Get to that in a moment. So, like, if we make that utility more accessible and people still choose not to participate, like, I can't force them to participate, but just bear in mind, money is not infinite. Like, even if theoretically a billionaire were to come in here and say, I'm going to donate $1 billion to defend the price, like that would only last for so long. Eventually that would be gone too, right? So at the end of the day, my goal is to get people into the utility. My goal is to take the value of the token, put it into what I would think, and this is not financial advice, this is literally what I have done, into what I consider to be literally a money printer. That's it. Doesn't mean it's going to print money all the time, but you have a greater chance of making more wealth in the long run in a utility-focused system and project like a high-frequency trading or a blue chip or private equity than you do just selling a token. That's right. So I say that because, like, at the end of the day, if somebody comes in and places a $500,000 buy order, okay, and you have a price that goes up and comes back, like, I can't control that. The team can't control that. That's a market. That's the decentralization factor of cryptocurrency. So at the end of the day, it's not so easy of a question to answer, because if most people use their emissions that go into the utility, that drastically changes this. No effect on liquidity. It's no effect on the market price. It's a very different calculation. So unfortunately, depending on how many people use the utility versus just selling a token, which, again, Zeta Capital was primarily created to create utility, not just for selling the token, right? That drastically changes the entire calculation. So unfortunately, it's not a very simple question to answer. You said a bit of a weird question. What makes the HFT promises of these high returns different? So you're asking a question about BitConnect. I don't really know anything about BitConnect, so I can't comment on BitConnect. I don't want to comment too much on Freeway because, like, that's really their job. But I do know kind of what their returns were like, and they're paying 43%, which that appears high. And in most cases, if you were paying 43%, you would assume that there's probably, what, 200-300% being paid, but it was lower than that, which was pretty slim margins, I'm not going to lie. But again, that comes down to, what is your risk tolerance? Like, what is your ability to get out of a losing position in the event something happens? Stop losses, trading on specific lot sizes, risk management, because you're not going to win 100% of the time. Nobody wins 100% of the time. It's just not possible. Just like the blue chip had a losing month. I think it was back in, what was it, August or September, I forget. These things happen. Like, there's no guarantee of anything. Like, I've never said this is guaranteed. There's no such thing as guaranteed returns. Never made that comment. So again, what I can say is that you have a long, several year history of high frequency trading that has been going on in markets for years and years and years, right? Without commenting on what BitConnect or Freeway specifically is doing, because I'm not on the team of those projects, even though some people think I am. I'm not on the team of those projects. Like, without commenting on what they're doing, all I know is that the folks who are handling the money for Zeta, right, are doing a job that has been done for many, many years. And when we're saying it hasn't, part of your question is, you know, it hasn't been done for a sustained period of time. That's not true. I mean, this is your high frequency trading algorithm been running for years and years and years. It's not something that was just developed like back in June or July when we created Zeta Capital, right? And again, like, institutions run high frequency trading platforms and systems. Like, you don't think a JP Morgan with billions of dollars is running an HFT, making 30, 40, 50% a month with millions of dollars? They're not risking all their capital on that, because when you are at that level, you don't risk that much capital. That's dangerous to risk that much capital, right? Which is why when the Zeta Capital Fund gets to 10 million, 15, 20, 50 million dollars and beyond, it's time to reallocate capital. Like, you don't just put all your eggs in one basket. You don't do that in cryptocurrency. You don't do that in the traditional finance markets. You don't do that anywhere. But high frequency trading models, a lot of the large financial institutions don't even publish much of their returns. But I can tell you, they are doing those returns, if not greater than that. But anyway, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. That guy says, how did you and your team get to be so awesome? Well, thank you. Is there a compounding function with the new HFT proposal? So the compounding is there. If you don't withdraw, it's always compounding. That makes sense? So the daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, as long as you don't pull it out, it's always compound. There's no compounding function. It's just happening all the time. Griff says, great work by the entire team over the last week to relaunch. I bet everyone moved mountains. That's very true. To get back up and running. I would like to know more about the short and long-term impacts of the bot. Also like to hear more about the HFT announcement and the details. So, yeah, I mean, really the short and long-term are the same thing. It's a loss in liquidity, right? So that means buying and selling has more of an impact. That's why it's even more important to practice the strategic selling that I had mentioned in my video back in August. And as a matter of fact, I would add on to that video with the loss in liquidity. I would also encourage people, don't just wait for a buy and follow it with a sell. Spread out your sells even if you see buys. And the reason for that is because if there's a buy that comes in for 10 Zeta and you go and sell 10 and 3 other people do that at the same time, guess what? Now you got 3 or 4 sells following one buy order. And with the loss on liquidity, that makes it far more impactful. So I would say, even if you see buys, let the price come back up. And this is, I can't force you to do this. I'm just telling you what is healthy for the system. Let the price come back up, right? And then you sell just over a period of days. That's really the safest thing to do, especially with a loss on liquidity. So I would add on to my video. Maybe I'll just make another one. Go back and watch it. It's in it's on our YouTube. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it here real quick. So if we go in the Discord and we go to Zeta YouTube, I'm gonna have to scroll up a little bit here, but let's see if I can find it. It would be right here where you see August 26th, how to sell the token strategic selling. I would just add on to that, given the loss in liquidity, like don't just dump tokens because you see a buy order coming. It's more important now to not just wait for a buy order, but do it over a period of time. And I'm not talking like sell 10 and then 20 seconds later sell 10 and 20 seconds later tell. That's not at all what the video is talking about. The add on to the video, given the loss of liquidity, sell over a period of time. That's going to be the healthiest protocol or the healthiest way for the protocol. And again, with decentralized finance, ultimately the power lies with the community, because profits are not infinite. Like anybody, even you're worth 10, 20 million dollars, like profits are not infinite, right? So if you guys want a high token price, the ultimate recommendation is to work together as a community to make that happen. Given the fact that decentralization brings the power primarily with the community. So I hope that answers that question. I'm going to go back to AMA questions here, and I'm going to find the second part. You said you would like to also know about the HFT announcement and details. Let's do it. All right, let me show you. Here we go. So let's find announcements right here. I'm going to read the announcement verbatim. Since Zeta Capital's launch, our community has been excited to see the rollout of our financial services. By far the most anticipated, most requested of all financial services by Zeta is, of course, the High Frequency Trading Fund. You want access to the HFT, the crown jewel of our financial services. As a thank you for your patience over the last week, we've pushed forward a future roadmap item, expanded HFT access. We have taken your suggestions and we have weighed against what we know you already want. And we know this because you guys have said it probably every day since it's a capital launch, to be honest, which is access to the HFT. So for the next 28 days, we'll be allowing access to our financial services at a lower entry point. Starting within the next few days, we will be rolling out the HFT to the following zone tiers and having the following ROI caps on a monthly basis. So that's the give and take, is you get early access, is just you're capped a little bit more, which is a suggestion that everybody made. And it's like, okay, why don't we just give you what you want? So if you have between 10 and 24 zones, you will get access to HFT, but you will be capped at 10% per month. Okay, if you have 25 to 74 zones, same thing, but you'll be capped at 15% a month. And of course, 75 and beyond is going to continue operating as it's operating now, which is a variable percentage. So in a nutshell, all zone holders with 10 zones and above will now have access to the HFT. And some folks have been asking if these 28 days go well, like how does a 28 day? So give us a few days, we'll get this rolled out. For 28 days, the pools will be available. So that 28-day window, there'll be pools available for these different zone tiers with the caps on the ROI. Based on how that goes, if it's popular, if it's something people want, we might normalize it. We might make an intermittent thing we introduce every now and then. There's all sorts of ways we could do it, but this is more, look at this more as a trial run. This is something that was suggested, so okay, let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes. That's the idea. Okay? And, again, the entire MO, the mission, the goal of Zeta Capital is not just to provide a token for selling. It's utility. Otherwise, like I said, there'd be no utility. If it was just another token selling project, there'd be no utility. It would have been just like every other project with no difference. The differentiating factor is these financial services. So it's like, okay, The HFT's been out for a little bit. You know, you guys had to wait a week. Let's give you something to do with your tokens. Let's give this access to pretty much almost everybody. You gotta have 10 zones. I think that's realistic. And then we'll see how it goes, right? Since that's the MO and you've asked for it, let's give it a shot. That's exactly what we're doing. So enjoy. That'll be coming out in a couple days. And we'll probably be answering more questions in here about it. Hendo's asking, depending on how compounding works for the HFT announced today, could you give a couple examples, please? For example, $1,000 at 10% can result in X after 1 month. Okay. And it says these are not forecasts, it's just give an idea. Let me open up my calculator. This is not financial advice. This is not guaranteed returns. I never say anything's guaranteed. There are no guaranteed returns in anything in life, by the way. So it's not legal advice, it's not financial advice. It's not any advice. This is just an example. If you put $1,000 in, 10% a month, what's it look like? So there's a lot of compound interest calculators that exist on the internet. You can find them, but let me just show you a really, really quick and easy way to kind of calculate this. So if you theoretically put $1,000 in, you got 10% a month. Put your $1,000 in, you'd multiply that by 1.10 or 1.1. The reason is because if it's 10%, 0.1, you have to add it back to your balance. 1,000 times 1 is 1,000, right? So you do 1,000 times 1.1. You're adding the profit onto the balance. So you would do times 1.1. That means in 1 month you'd have $1,100. If you did it again, literally the same calculation, now it's 1210. So you went from $100 to 110. That's the compound interest kicking in. Okay, so you could literally just keep running this as many months as you want. To make it simple, let me show you a way to multiply out by 10, 12, 15 months without doing that 10, 15 times. You would do 1,000 times 1.1. And you would, in your scientific calculator, you should see like an exponent. It says XY. So you click that. And then you would do 12 months, 13 months, 5 months, whatever, do 12 months. There you go. So you're, in this example, if you literally let it sit for 12 months, compound interest, $1,000 balance or principal with a 10% a month, compound interest, it would become basically $3,100 and some change at the end of 1 year. Okay. That's literally an example. It's not a guarantee. It's not anything. It's answering your question. Okay. So if it was 15%, you do 1.15, 1.2 for 20%, and so on and so forth. So I hope that answers your question. And that's an easy way to do it without finding a compound interest calculator on the internet. Time frame on liquidity pool. So yeah, again, so once we're stabilized, give us a few days, we'll start looking at, rolling out a potential scenario on helping the people who are in the liquidity pools. Keep in mind, it's not a requirement. It is something we want to do graciously. So please be patient with us if we do it. When we are ready for your requests, you will know. We'll say open a ticket, do this, do that. But in the meantime, doing that is going to probably just get the ticket closed with no response, because it's I don't want to say it's abusing the ticket system, but we're just asking you to be patient. Be patient with us, and we'll look into this issue next, and then look into potentially what to do with the cheap token purchases if we do anything. But just one step at a time, guys. Just be patient with us. We will look into it. Let's see. Can't we just pre-program our available XETA to automatically enter the HFT pool without waiting? Burning Ice. That's a great question. Somebody brought up a automated queuing system, and it's certainly possible to do that. It's like a holding place, basically. You deposit, and based on first come, first served deposit. Yeah, it's something we can do, but it's not off the table. I mean, we're literally opening up the access to the HFT for almost everybody. So let us test and trial run this, and then obviously improvements like, first come, first served deposit queue systems and all kinds of stuff can come, down the road. But it's definitely on the table as an option. And Chuck Finley wants to know, what does it say a strategy of weathering the storms of major recession, significant collapses in crypto? I mean, look, if crypto significantly collapse and all the markets collapse, these are black swan events, right? I mean, we're looking at crypto right now and wondering, are we hitting the bottom? Everybody thinks we're hitting the bottom. I thought we hit the bottom already. Obviously, we didn't. It's difficult to speculate on this, Chuck, just because what scenarios exactly are we talking about? Like, if we say regulatory attack on DeFi, what does that mean? Does it mean that you can't participate at all? Does it mean you could participate a little bit? I don't know. Like it's a vague question. And it's a vague question because most of us don't know, right? As far as DeFi and the regulatory impacts in America and the lack of regulation, we have something in plan for that, but don't want to talk about it just yet. Just know that we have something planned very soon to counter that. Master Yoda wants to know, with the HFT open to lower zone memberships, if we would hit a higher tier due to compounding, does the ROI cap increase with the respected membership? I think I understand. So he's saying, for example, 10 to 24 is 10% a month if 25 or higher be achieved with the prior deposits. Good question. Let us iron out those details. It's a great question. I want to say yes, but I don't want to say for sure. Let us iron out those details. It's a great question, though. I don't really know right now. We will work out those details, though, for sure. You guys will know exactly how that will work. But great question. I have it stored away to get that answered for you, and we will make sure that you get that answer. All right. I think this is the last question here. Cross Blitz. With the ROI cap, what does the team plan on doing with excess profits? Well, funding the company, right? Funding more pools. Operations, marketing, development, all of the stuff that we use profits for now, basically. Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. It's, like I say, when it came up with the idea of XETA, it was, if I was on the other side, and I still am, I mean, in a lot of ways, of being the person not running the project, but looking in, what would I want? I would want something where I didn't have to sell. You might sell a little bit. You want to cover your fees. Get it. Totally understand. But selling's a one-time event. Depositing into a financial service and receiving a recurring income is a multiple event. You're taking what could be a one-time event and you're multiplying it for down the road. Okay, it's sort of like we look at retirement, although there's a lot of things we can say about retirement. The idea, the concept is putting something away that you could use now, but you're putting it away for later for it to multiply by the time you get there. Now, you don't have to quite wait as long with the HFT as you do with retirement, of course. But my point is, this is the same idea. Of course you can sell. Can XETA Capital stop 100% of people from selling? No. We can't. Just like a bank can't stop 100% of the people in the country coming to withdraw their money at one time. It just can't, even if they try to plan for it. I mean, how do you plan for something like that, right? The power really finally lies when it comes to market conditions in the community's hands. Like, if you have profits to buy back a token, profits are not infinite. I would much rather see you guys get into the utility than just sell a token. I'm just going to be straightforward with you. Because I know what that could potentially do versus just a one-time, one-off sell. It could significantly multiply what you're doing. That one-off time could go into something to make it a 2-off time, a 3-off time, a 5-off time, a 10-off time potentially down the road. Like, that's powerful. That's where compound interest kicks in. If you just have a one-time sell, it's not compounding. It's just a pull out of liquidity. That's it. And I've always looked at XETA Capital as something that I would have wanted. So I kind of selfishly built it for myself. If I could be honest, I just want to share the fruits of that labor with everybody. And, the ultimate goal at the end of the day is get as many people into services as possible, because that's where, in my opinion, it's not a guaranteed financial advice type of thing, but you understand, like, that, in my opinion, is where the real wealth is built, not selling a token, because you could go on any project and sell a token. How many projects have the ability to take that token and go into a high-frequency trading system typically used by institutions? Don't know of too many. Actually, I do. I know of one. It's XETA Capital. So again, that's the plan with the profits and the excess profits, is to continue funding that on the back end. I would just encourage you guys, look more at the utility, look more at the services. That's why we're going to make it more available for a wider range of people. Because that was always the goal, is to bring that utility to as many people as possible. Some people said, 75 is like, it's way out there. I'm at 9, I'm at 8, I'm at 22. Well, guess what? Now you're included, right? Now you're included. Different ROI cap, but I would argue even the lowest ROI cap of 10% over time with compound interest will be significantly greater than just a one-off sell of a token. When you could take that token and put it into something that far outweighs just a single sell. So that'll be rolling out next couple of days. This is a quick, rapid fire AMA. Quick, I mean, we're looking 25 minutes or so, but still a lot quicker than an hour or an hour and 20 minute AMA. Getting into your questions, go ahead and continue posting your questions. We will answer them as soon as possible. I'll have more videos coming out on how to use Radio Shack, how to use the farm at Radio Shack. The farm is going to be manually adjusted around 400%. So I would, encourage you to consider looking into the farm a little bit. That's something that's going to give you more utility while you wait for the HFT to be rolled out to more people. And I'll be having more content on that. I'm getting a lot of interest in coming over, talking to XETA with a lot of different communities. So we're looking at that as well. We have some conversations on the back end with partnerships with different projects that are getting very interesting. And you guys will find out about that soon enough. You might not already know about some of them because some of it's got a little bit leaked out. But nonetheless, continue asking your questions. We'll record some shorter AMAs moving forward, kind of similar like this, to make them easier to get through. And we'll go from there. Got any other questions? Please put it in the Discord. And thank you so much for your patience this last week. Thank you so much for standing by your side as we stand by your side. Until next time, take care and God bless.